Great and Holy One, fountain of lemonade on a hot summer day, you who know all the bingo numbers before they are even called, have compassion on our striving to know it all and do it all, and gently remind us that before anything that we can do or say, we are already loved beyond words, the living embodiments of your eternal loving spirit and word, Jesus Christ. Amen. Please have a seat. Good morning, church. It's good to be back. As many of you know, I've been on a bit of a respite, both from my program and some COVID scares. So it is so nice to see everyone's face again and also to see new faces coming in through our doors, albeit a little hot, but always great. Add some extra color. So I'd like to begin today with a conversation that I had earlier this week. One of our first conversations, being back here at the cathedral with Amy, we sat down for lunch and we're reviewing about what the year ahead is going to look like for my fellowship, for my second year with Life Together and as Justice Minister here at the cathedral. And the topic of conversation was a little bit about our gospel reading for today, which is, how are we going to balance the Mary and Martha and each one of us, right? See, I, like most of us in the Episcopal branch of the Jesus movement, are very Martha. We are ready to go. You tell us there's a protest, we are there. You tell us there's a cause, we move. Mountains, we move churches, we move people, we do what needs to get done. And yet, for all that movement, sometimes we forget that sometimes the best thing we can do is sit at the feet of Jesus and listen, right? The feet of the center within. The story of Martha and Mary tells us that Martha was distracted by many tasks, right? And Jesus doesn't comment on it. In fact, the only thing he says is when Martha asks, Jesus, my sister's not doing anything. Jesus looks at her and says, yes, your sister's not doing anything because she's doing much more. The work that is important is here also. You cannot have action without the source, the fountain of wisdom, to where that action comes from. If it's not inspired action, it's not action at all. It's just moving around dirt from one side of the room to the other. That's my metaphor for cleaning. You are worried, Martha, Martha, you are worried and distracted by many things. And of course, I look at Jesus and I'm thinking to myself, I'm worried and distracted by many things, you know? The world is not in a good place. And it often seems like it's just going to get worse. And so how can I look at Jesus and be like, what do you mean that I'm worried and distracted by many things? There are many things to worry and distract me. What about every wrong turn that seems to come our way? And I think what Jesus is offering us in this example is an image, the image of a wheel, where the hub is the center and the spokes and the rim are what turns around that center. You see, the world will always turn, but if we're not working from that center, from that hub, then we can get lost and think that the rim is the whole wheel. And you don't have a wheel if you only have a rim. I've been reading recently on the Kalahari Bushmen, also known as the Sand People in Namibia and Botswana. And they have a phrase that they say, they have ropes to God, right? So they have these healing dances that they do that will last all night, and they feel the ropes to God reaching up into the heavens, and they feel connected. But the ropes also exist amongst one another. And so they say from our belly button, we have a rope that connects us to every person that we have a relationship with. And when you feel the emotion, the felt emotion, they say your ropes are being pulled. And I didn't quite get this image of ropes being pulled until I was sitting in the subway reading on my Kindle, on my phone, doing the very millennial thing of not trying to interact with anyone around me. And, and it kind of hit me. And I remember the relationship that I had and still do with my grandfather before he passed away. And then I got it. I understood what a rope being pulled meant, because at that moment, I felt just a washing over of emotion of how that love that existed between me and my grandfather was still alive. And the tears that were there were not tears of sadness. They were tears of joy, tears of a relationship, of a life well lived, right? I often think of Mary in the same capacity, right? Can you imagine that love relationship that pulls so much that you can't move, that you sit at the feet of Jesus and you say, I don't know how much longer I have you for. So while I have you, I'm going to sit and be here with you. I think that that's what it means to get our rope pulled, both by God, but by each other. And the more that we pull on each other's ropes, I think, the more that God will pull on our own, and we come alive. The images of rope couldn't help but bring back the image of Martin Luther King's Garment of Destiny. And if you see all of the ropes that align from all of our belly buttons and from our belly buttons to the sky and to the earth, we become this beautiful tapestry where in healing myself and in being here in a moment of presence, then I'm also healing the world, although it may not seem like it. And I think that that's what I needed to hear, given the state of the world today. The image of Martha, Mary, and Jesus are inseparable. We contain all of them within ourselves. Jesus being that inner voice, that inner spark of God that leads us. But the balance of Martha and Mary is the constant dance on how to live it out. The journey is as important as the destination. And I say this because, being good Episcopalians, we want to go out into the world and do all of the right things. We may be working for a world we will never see. And so, what do we have right now? We have each other. Can we do both? Can we build those relationships with each other? Can we love each other? Can we learn to be with each other while also working for a kingdom that's yet to come? So I have here, everyone look to your left and everyone look to your right. These are your neighbors. These are your communities. Feel a rope coming out of your belly button and connecting you all. It's about building relationships, dummy. And that was a note to myself. So there's a old Cuban spiritual. I'm going to try to sing, but wish me luck. There's an old Cuban spiritist song that's sung while holding hands. It goes, Qué lindas son las flores, qué lindo está el altar, pero más bonita es la corriente espiritual. Qué lindas son las flores, qué lindo está el altar, pero más bonita es la corriente espiritual. And that translates to, how beautiful are the flowers, how great and beautiful is the altar. But more beautiful than all of that is a spiritual connection between us. And so I thought of that when I was preparing for today's sermon, because the beauty that you see around you in this building is a reflection of the relationships that we have built. The beauty of the flowers comes from our very own Cynthia, and from a wedding that we had last week. We still have some flowers. It is the relationships that we build within our communities that continue to beautify the space around us. But the core work is there at the beginning. And that's what I think what Ministry of the Steps is about. This week, and since I've been back, I've been working with Ministry of the Steps meeting every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And this is the first time I've ever had the opportunity to do something like this. And in our conversation, I was asked, how's it going? And I was like, it's presence. That's all that's asked for. There's not much to do. It is just sit outside and be a presence and see who will come through your doors, or not doors, through your tent. And so I have the image of Abraham sitting in a tent and, well, Abraham's not so great. Let's say Sarah, sitting in a tent, waiting to see who will come, right? And how oftentimes we think Ministry of the Steps is a great name because it does not clarify who the ministers are, right? I came in and I was like, I'm the minister of the steps. Well, or a minister of the steps. And I quickly realized, oh no, the steps are ministering to me. On Thursday, we had a rosary making expedition, and turns out none of us are really great at making rosaries. And while we're sitting there struggling, I made one in 3 hours, by the way, so it was going really great. As we're sitting there making rosaries, someone walks by, a woman named Miriam, and she says, I love making rosaries, and I've always wanted a community to make rosaries with. Is it okay if I come and make rosaries with you? And what are the odds that you're sitting there, that someone who loves to make rosaries comes and is blown right through? It's a little miracle of God in my eyes. If you sit in our tent long enough, you'll realize that we're all waiting on miracles. And kind of like Abraham and Sarah, who were ministering in hospitality to the 3 guests who came, they didn't expect the miracle that day, but the miracle came anyways. And the reaction was, and I loved it because this was not in the lectionary, but Jim included the extra verses, Sarah laughed, because oftentimes miracles cause laughter because they're ridiculous. Like, how is that going to happen? That's not going to happen. You're wrong. And God laughs back because it's like, no, you're wrong. And it becomes very clear that we're actually pretty much not in control of anything. So can we have faith in the process, although the times look dark? Can we take care of the ones that we're connected to with our belly buttons, who are nearby us right now, who need us? Can we hold a hand? Can we say a prayer? Martha, Martha, you are worried and distracted by many things. When I was doing research for the sermon, I discovered that the Oak of Marmara still exists in Palestinian territory in the West Bank, near the city of Hebron. Near the city of Hebron, and it's in a Russian Orthodox monastery. And there's so I'm doing research for this sermon, and I was like, okay, well, what am I going to include from this? Like, is there anything of note? Well, the monastery has this tradition that if the oak of Abraham and Sarah dies, well, then the Antichrist will be in the world. And it died in 1996. So I was like, well, the state of the world clearly is not good. But what's most amazing about the research that I was doing was the fact that, they've been trying to save this tree, and they've had botanists come in, and they've had people try to restore the trunk so that there's at least the memorial of where the tree used to stand. And what they found in 1997, and I think that this is the most important part of all, was that there was a new sprig with new roots. So what I learned from that was that sometimes things look like they're dying, and what they're doing is going through an amazing transformation. And it might look like stillness from the outside, sitting at the feet of Jesus, and what's happening is the complete engulfment, rapture of love. So can we be open to that possibility within our own lives? So to close, Like Mary, let our action come from the foot of Jesus, drinking from the fountain of wisdom, so that when we go out into the world, we may be ready to tackle it head on. Let us get ourselves ready by honing in our center, feeling alive with the Spirit, so that when we are called to action, we will be able to instill hope and love wherever we may find ourselves. I'm reminded of that song we sang all of Lent, and I'm going to sing another song. I'm so sorry. But I do feel like it captures this essence of waiting for the Spirit to move us. And it goes a little something like this. My hands are ready, and what am I gonna do? My hands are ready, and what am I gonna do? My hands are ready, and what am I gonna do? Oh God, my hands are ready, and what am I gonna do? Amen.